Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Avenues to Wellness podcast. I am Tamara Fidler, a board-certified health coach and the host of the show. On Avenues to Wellness, we discuss everything surrounding wellness, from yoga to habit change, disease prevention, and the latest nutrition research. We tackle tough topics, and you will find inspiration to stay on your path to a healthier future. Welcome back, friends. Today's episode of the Avenues to Wellness podcast dives into a particularly timely and delicate topic. With just 113 days left until the U.S. presidential election, the atmosphere is already altered with a sense of tension. Election season marks periods that can significantly heighten stress, piling it on top of our everyday burdens. In today's episode, we're going to explore how you can safeguard both your physical and mental health during this election season. There's something known as election stress syndrome, a term we use to describe this unique stress that only elections can induce. And although it's not recognized medically, its impact is real. So we'll dissect whether this kind of stress has any substantial evidence linking it to specific health issues and share strategies to help you steer clear of unnecessary stress in the upcoming months. Let's dive in. I chose this topic today because last week, within just 1 hour, I spoke with 3 different people. Each of them independently expressed anxiety and stress about the upcoming election. These conversations occurred in various settings, and each person brought up the topic unexpectedly. So despite their different life circumstances, they all shared the same concern. This experience led me to conclude that election stress is a universal and pervasive issue capable of impacting every one of us in diverse ways. I wanted to look to see if there was, in fact, research to support the idea that elections could impact our health in measurable ways. And yes, in regards to our physical health, there is evidence suggesting that the incidence of heart attacks may increase during periods of intense stress, such as presidential elections. Research has indicated that hospitalizations for acute cardiovascular diseases, such as heart attacks and strokes, were significantly higher immediately following the 2016 presidential election compared to other times. A little more detail about this study. The hospitalization rate for acute cardiovascular disease events in a large Southern California health system was 1.62 times higher in the 2 days immediately after the 2016 presidential election when compared with the same 2 days in the week prior to the 2016 election. And this was according to a research from Harvard School of Public Health and Kaiser Permanente. The results were similar across age, sex, race, and ethnicity groups. We can think of elections and sometimes the immediate fallout from election results as something that can be compared to other large-scale events that are known to cause significant stress, such as earthquakes, industrial accidents, even terror attacks, or sporting events. So we can keep this in mind in the upcoming election season that we are at an increased susceptibility over the next few months. In just this past week, so much has already happened. We're still uncertain about who the final candidates will be, and we've even seen an assassination attempt on former President Trump. And it's only July. But let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. What does research say about the impact of U.S. presidential elections on our mental health historically? What should we expect now? Is there a roadmap to guide us through this time period? Yes. Research clearly shows that U.S. presidential elections have a significant impact on our mental health as a population. Anxiety, stress, and other mental health issues tend to spike during these times, affecting people across different demographics and levels of their political engagement. Research indicates a notable increase in the demand for mental health services around election times. For example, during the 2020 election, there was a significant rise in office visits for mental health support and prescription drug usage for mental illnesses, and this highlights a direct link between election-related stress and the utilization of mental health resources. Also, the more informed and politically engaged someone is, the more susceptible they are to experience mental health challenges during contentious elections. This trend has been increasing over time. In 2020, a study found that 68% of adults attributed a rise in anxiety to the election, and this was a significant jump from the 41% who reported similar feelings in 2016. Additionally, Google search data reveals that searches for anxiety and depression significantly increased after the 2016 presidential election. This suggests that the election had a considerable impact on mental health concerns among the population. One last point before we discuss how to manage election stress. The mental health effects of elections can be particularly severe for marginalized groups, disproportionately affecting those who feel targeted by the political discourse. So, the evidence clearly shows that elections can impact both our physical and mental health. With it being only July, there's still time to prepare and develop a plan to protect our health during this period. What can we do? First, set some boundaries for your social media and news habits now in July. You are in control of the amount of information you consume daily, not the trending headlines. Constant updates can make you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster. So it's fine to stay informed, but try to set specific times to check the news or social media and stick to those times. Also, curate your news sources carefully. This doesn't mean only hearing one perspective, but paying attention to the legitimacy of sources and ignoring sensational headlines from untrustworthy outlets. Next, if you know you're likely to feel heightened anxiety during election season, especially if you're part of a marginalized community, don't hesitate to plan ahead. Seek out a mental health professional, connect with supportive friends and family, and engage in community activities or volunteer work. This can help foster a sense of belonging and counteract feelings of alienation from the political process. Planning ahead is crucial. Specifically, think about what you'll be doing in November. Plan how you'll watch the election, who you'll be with, and what activities you'll engage in during the days surrounding the election. Mindfulness is another key strategy, though it's easier said than done. Much of our political anxiety stems from uncertainty about the future. However, focusing on the present moment can help. If you don't already practice mindfulness, consider starting meditation or a hobby that grounds you in the present. Personally, I've found help with reading actual books again, which helps me stay rooted in the present moment amid the barrage of quick media bites. Lastly, continue educating yourself about the voting process and the candidates. Strike a balance between gaining useful, important knowledge and avoiding sensational headlines that only serve to heighten anxiety. In summary of today's episode 5, protecting your physical and mental health during election season, we looked at the validity of the term election stress syndrome and saw that there is concrete evidence that elections can have an impact on our physical and mental health. Cardiovascular events spike in the time surrounding U.S. presidential elections, and people seek out mental health services and report more feelings of anxiety and depression during this time. To prepare for the upcoming months, I suggested a few things we can do. Limit the time watching news, curate our news sources, find something that will root you in the present moment during times of uncertainty, and lastly, continue to educate yourself so that you can come from a place of knowledge rather than anxiety. Thank you so much for listening in to episode 5. If you are enjoying the recordings, please pass along to someone else who you think could benefit as well. Thanks again and have a great week ahead.